want to look at the TV.
And we're live. Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to Monday Night Paranormal Live with myself, Paul from Host for Ghosts, Angela from South Coast Ghost, Paula, and we're really, really honoured to have Haunted Soulz Paranormal, Dan and Maddie, all the way from America. Aren't we lucky? And it's a real privilege to have you two on with us tonight. So if you have any questions you want to ask them about their ghost hunting, and they've been to some big buildings and some haunted locations. And generally they broadcast from a haunted location, but not tonight. So welcome. So if we had an investigation on Saturday. We did a theatre down in Portsmouth, a really old theatre. So we had a good night there. Some good responses, some good EVPs. So come send your messages in, send your questions in, and I'm sure Maddie and Dan will answer whatever they can. Really interesting. We had a good podcast when I was on with them. It was fantastic. A really, really knowledgeable couple into the paranormal. So please send in messages and questions, and I'm sure they can answer them. So we'll go over to Dan and Maddie. Do you want to introduce yourselves to us, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Dan.
I'm Maddie.
We are father and daughter.
Yes.
I've been doing the paranormal for about 6 years now.
Yep. I've been doing it for about 5. So I came on about a year after he started doing the paranormal for a year, and then he introduced me to the paranormal. So it's been about 5 years collectively going on paranormal investigations together.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's been your scariest moments, do you think?
You have a lot.
I have a lot. I'm scared of the paranormal, and I'm a paranormal investigator. Funny. I'm the scaredy pants of the group. You go first because yours is going to take a lot shorter time.
You should go first because yours is longer.
Okay. I think my first ever experience, we went to the Missouri State Penitentiary. It was my first ever investigation. And we were all the way down in what they call D3, which is where the inmates would be held before they would go to death row. And it was like the in-housing solitary confinement. I know it's a good word for it. And we were down there. We were doing an investigation. All lights were out. It's completely dark. And I looked down the other hallway, and I see this thing poking its head out, and it wasn't a spirit, it was a thing, and apparently it was the crawler that is known to be down in D3.
Oh wow.
I was terrified.
It mimics like a dog type thing.
Was you the only one that saw it then, Maddie, or did?
No, I saw it and I tapped him and I was like, hey, what's that down there? And then next thing you know, everyone's head was down looking at that thing, and everyone was seeing it.
Yeah, numerous of us. There was a group of us that saw it, and it was crawling like it would come from one side of the doorway to the other side of the doorway, and it would go back and forth, like watching us, just seeing what we were doing. And it's been known to be there. They always tell us that the company I used to work for, that we did a lot in Missouri State, they'd say don't whistle because it would imitate a dog, and everybody would be down there whistling like, "Come here," and it's like, don't do that. It'll do, so. It resembles like a dog.
Yeah.
And stuff. So
it didn't come close to you. It just stayed its distance, did it?
Yeah. I'm glad it did.
Yeah, it just stayed right out in the hallway and was just watching everybody and stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Did you get anything else while you were there?
I've seen it numerous times. Me and another investigator seen it crawl up death row. We were on death row, and it climbed up the wall and was sitting up on the ceiling. And it was just sitting there watching. And it really don't do nothing to nobody. It just, I guess, very observant, like what's, just wants to see what everybody's checking out, what everybody's doing and stuff like that. So
do they know why it's there, Dan?
Do what?
Do they know why it's there?
No, they don't. It's, some people are going to say, oh, it's demonic, but it's not demonic. They just really never figured out why it's there. Or it could just be a negative energy that just manifest. It's been residual, or it could be just just all the negative at the prison there and stuff. Because Missouri State is the biggest on this side of the river here in the United States, and it was called the 47 bloodiest acres. and that prison was made for it to
be torture.
Yeah, it wasn't a pleasurable prison. It wasn't not the ones that are today, with and they used to have cells that are like a 5x5 cell, and they would stick like 5 to 10 people in one cell. And in those cells, I'm 6 foot, and I have to bend down like that. So imagine standing like this all the time with your head bent down.
Yeah.
Stuff. So
that was that in Missouri itself, or was that in the next state?
Yeah, that's in Missouri. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
It's about 2 hours drive from us.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours from St. Louis.
It's like in the middle of Missouri.
Okay. So what's your next most haunted location, do you think?
Oh man.
One of many.
My favorite haunted location is Indiana State Sanitarium. It's in Indiana, and it's an old tuberculosis hospital and asylum sanitarium and stuff. And I've actually seen 3 apparitions and a doppelganger there. And it's been like my most place that I've seen the most activity at. I've been there like 7 or 8 times, but that's one of my favorite.
But our next haunted one is probably going to be we're going back to Missouri State Penitentiary. That's probably our next. That's our next scariest place.
Randolph County is supposed to be legit.
I've never been to Randolph County.
The place that we're going Saturday is supposed to be really good. It's really good activity and stuff. So
well, and you're the first ones to go in there, are you?
No. This one you can see it all over the place on TikTok.
Oh, okay.
The place that we were at Saturday that we're going to probably be doing is that one has not been investigated at all.
Right.
So we're actually going to be like tapping the whole, thing and stuff. But Randolph County, it's in Winchester, Indiana. It's pretty well known. There's a lot of document of activity there.
The one you're going to that you've never been to before, or has never been tapped into before. That's going to be something else on another level, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, that's going to be really good. That's just to try to. I mean, we've got documentation of certain people have died there, and stuff. So it's going to be good too.
Do you take a medium or a psychic in with you? Do you have one in your team?
Yeah, we do.
Apart from Maddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Heidi Taylor. She's our residential psychic that goes with us and stuff. So usually when she comes, she also does a spirit gallery for everybody. So it's kind of nice that, she can tap in and talk to other spirits and stuff of people that are there and stuff. So they get that. That's a bonus when you buy a ticket for our event.
Sure. And do you have Julia Evans, evening? Thank you for joining in. Haunted Souls Paranormal on there. So if you have a question for them, come in and ask them. And do you have anybody do psychic art while you're there? Get faces?
No, I haven't had. We haven't had that.
These are some of the pictures Jenny drew from Saturday at the theatre.
Oh, wow. That's someone on stage.
And that was someone that was on the stage.
That's cool.
That was from Saturday at the theatre. And then she picked up on a nurse being there. Oops, let's get it right. Like a nurse.
Don't forget, yeah, it used to be a school.
It used to be a school for boys.
Yeah, poor boys, wasn't it?
Poor boys, yeah. So it's had quite a history, and this was the other lady that came through. I'm not sure you could see that very well. But
hold on 1 second. I'm going to change this angle a little bit.
So they were the pictures that Jenny picked up from Saturday. Okay, so what type of equipment do you take with you, Dan, when you go in? Are you fully loaded with tech equipment, or are you just back to basics?
Yeah, we try to get all the state-of-the-art stuff that we have. The trip wires and phasma boxes and all that lovely techie stuff. And so, yeah.
He's constantly being like looking at equipment. He's like, should I get this? Should I not get this? I'm like, sure, why not? Let's try it out.
And I'm starting to make equipment now. Now I'm starting to. Yeah, I make REM pods and like Boo Bears and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah. You need to send us your link, mate, so we put it on our website so people contact you from here, because REM pods and them bears and that are quite popular here. So
yeah, we do. Of course, I don't have
No.
I was looking around the room here. Like my mad scientist stuff is all behind these curtains right now. And stuff. But like here's a part of it. So we make like, I don't know if you can see it. But they're skulls, and they'll have the antenna, and then the eyes light up a certain color.
Yeah.
So you can pick what color you want, and
That's
they
clever.
go off. So yeah, and then I do like Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Ann dolls. Their face, their cheeks, and their hands light up when they go off and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
I would have
That's
some,
good.
but I sold them at our last event 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I sold everything. Everybody bought.
Nice.
Yeah, they're like equipment. Hey, I'm gonna buy all equipment.
Yeah.
Nice. And what do you think about apps? You know, apps you can get on your phone or on the tablets. What do you think of them?
You want to tell it? You want me to tell a story?
You can tell it because you're the one that discovered the app. Well, not discovered that, but
the Spirit Talker app they have on. I'm not big on. I know a lot of the apps have like
microphones and
and they're for entertainment purposes only.
Right.
And stuff. And the Spirit Talker app was like kind of, you paid for it, so I thought, let me try it out. And so the first time we used it, it was getting stuff, but then I thought, well, like you look at Facebook or something and you're talking about mattresses or something, and next you see all the ads for mattresses and stuff like that. So I thought, well, maybe it has microphones and they can hear where you're at or what you're doing, and it just gives you words for that general area. So we went to a cemetery with it. It didn't say where we were at, and it started saying like buried, underneath, tombstone. And I was like, okay, that's kind of legit. But then I thought, well, maybe our location's on, and now it knows that we're in a cemetery.
Yeah.
So I took the third thing I did is I took the location off, and I was at a museum at Mineral Springs in Alton, Illinois, and they have a Odyssey kind of haunted museum in there with all kinds of weird objects, and they have like a autopsy table that still has hair and bone in the drain and just really weird stuff, torture devices and stuff like that. And we looked at the museum, and we had an event that night, and we were sitting in the swimming pool down in the basement, and the Spirit Talker said breast ripper. And I'm like, that's a weird word, just a breast ripper. And one of the guests said, oh, that's a torture device upstairs in the museum.
Oh, wow.
So the next day I went into the museum, and there was a device called the breast ripper up there. Wow. So I'm like, I thought at that point there, I was like, that's kind of a legit app, I think, because how would that have known that piece? That's just a weird word to come across a Phasma or this app anyway.
Yeah. And we've done like Estes before, like having someone do Estes down the hallway, and we'll have a name come up on the Spirit Talker app, and then next thing you know, a second later, they start saying the name all the way down at the end of the hallway. So it's like, so it gets to a point where it starts lining up very accurately. So we that's the app that we like to use a lot. And I know there's some other people who have gotten very good accurate things on there too as well. I like the other apps.
So I go with Spirit Talker. That's my app on my phone that I use the most. And we have tablets that we loan out at our events that have Spirit Talker on them. And Ghost 2 Vox, kind of some people have used and stuff. I've been testing out the Ghost Tube SLS.
Yeah.
I've been playing with that, and I'm not 100% legit on it, but I've been testing it out when I've been going to places. We were at West Virginia Penitentiary a couple weeks ago, and we were in a certain room that there was a riot that took place in that room at the prison. And the funny thing about it is most riots you think of that people want to get out and stuff, and these people were rioted, and they asked them what they wanted, why they were rioting, and they wanted better eating conditions. They wanted a better cafeteria, and because the cafeteria they had no heat or no air conditioning, so it was always hot. There was rats, roaches running around, and the food had maggots and stuff. So all they wanted was better eating conditions. That's it. They gave them a new cafeteria, and they ended the riot. It was like, it's crazy to hear that, it's just, but we were in there, and it mapped something on the floor, like a person laying on the floor, and then our tripwire was going off. Like they were like standing right next to it when it went off. So I don't know if it was something was laying on the floor next to it, or it mapped, some kind of, but I've been playing with that one.
One of our viewers has just sent a message in. I feel that the Spirit Walker app is good, but always told to have the phone or tablet in flight mode so it couldn't be manipulated.
Yes, airplane mode.
We do that anyways because that way it doesn't trigger any other, like, I always do it like that way it doesn't trigger like the tripwire or the K2 meters or anything like that. So like investigation, phone goes on silent, phone goes on airplane mode.
Yeah. Another one's put Snap 65. I've had some good responses with the Spirit Talker app. You go with that?
Yeah.
I've used one that's called the Alice box. I don't know whether you've heard of it. It's called the Alice ITC box.
Oh.
And it's a little machine, but it has a bank of about 4 million phonemic words. So the words are sent out in reverse back order. So it goes, it's not like a SB7 where it goes, it just sits there and it says searching. And then we've used it a couple of times. It's called the Alice ITC box.
Is that on the phone?
No, you can get it on the phone, but I actually bought the
actual box.
The box. Yeah. So we went to a place called Waverley Abbey once, and I've not had this long. I took it along and switched it on, and it goes searching. Before it gives a message, it goes do. So it tells you there's a message coming through. And we switched it on. I'm not sure whether Angela was there. We were standing there, and it went Abbey, and we're like, okay. So it's not got GPS or anything like that. It's just a standalone box. So we thought, okay, Abbey. So I said, well, okay, where are we in the Abbey? And he went, seconds later, he went, dip, cloisters. And we were standing right in the cloisters. How this knew where we were actually standing. Because we turned around and looked at the sign on the Abbey wall, because it's a 14th century Abbey. And here it was, you're in the cloisters. So this Alice ITC might be something you want to look at. But it's called the Alice ITC box.
We're going to have to look at that.
In trans-communication control.
Yeah.
We had a gentleman, the guy that was next to us at the American Hauntings that sold all of his boxes. Yeah. He does the ITC stuff. That's the software.
Yeah.
So I might have to get a hold of him and get one of those.
Yeah, chat with him. And we've used it. We went to Shepton Mallet Prison, which is the second most haunted prison in Britain. So we were there, and he kept saying 7, 7, 7, 7. We're thinking 7. What you on about 7? And as we looked over, there was cell 7 right opposite us. So we thought, okay, maybe it wants us to go in 7. So we went into cell 7, and I sat in there because Jenny wouldn't go in there. I sat in there, a few little taps, nothing really odd, where you sort of think, oh, I need to get out of here. And as I walked out, it said stairs pushed, I was murdered. And it never puts a sentence together, these boxes. So we're thinking, what on earth is that? So as we turned round, we realised there was a poster on the wall that the cell 7 was the Cray twins. Have you heard of the Cray twins? They're very famous gangsters in London in the 60s, notorious gangsters in London. So we told the lady that was doing the tour guide, and she said, well, nobody knew that, but the guy in the cell above them was causing her a problem. So they had him pushed down the stairs, and he broke his neck and died. So it's and that came from the Alice ITC box. So it's quite something you want to take with you on one of your investigations.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always about new equipment and wanting to try. I'm in the middle of trying to make a Spirit portal box that has the reverb pedal and the noise gate, and it works with the SB7, and you don't hear the whole it just throws out. You just hear the words that they throw out, and I've been working with that. I don't know quite the reverb and all that stuff, but I've been working with that and everything to try to get one. They're so expensive. Everything is so expensive.
Oh yeah,
ghost hunting equipment is not cheap.
No,
they don't make it
especially
cheap.
Because it's such a big thing now, isn't it? I think it's big in America as well. Here it's sort of growing bigger here, but I think in America it's very big, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's the hottest thing right now. I mean, if you watch our TikTok in America, it's just there's every night at least 5 to 10 people
But
alive.
if you get
investigating
on
a
between
location.
8 and 10 o'clock here, it is just nothing but paranormal investigations being videotaped. It's
Really?
crazy.
Yeah. Everybody's a paranormal investigator over here.
Yeah.
They get a K2 meter and a cat ball, and then they're an investigator. You know,
Yeah.
they're hanging out at cemeteries, and
Yeah, it's a big
and stuff
thing.
like that. So,
have you done cemeteries over there?
Yeah, we only hung out at one. We've only been to
Yeah.
one cemetery, really.
It was good. We got activity.
Yeah.
Me and my best friend heard something across the way, but we were alone. We're like, let's go exploring alone. We heard a branch snap behind us. We jumped, screamed. We're like, let's go that way.
That's a scaredy cat.
So have you done Gettysburg, the battlefields?
No, that's on our list.
Yes.
They're having they just had a Paracon there, the Gettysburg Bash, and next year I think we'll be going to that Paracon.
Yeah.
And stuff, because we've done the Lots House, which is in Tennessee. It was a Battle of Franklin was held there, and the house is still standing from that battle. The battle took place around that house, and they used the house as a hospital after it was the bodies. The Lots family had gone into a cellar for 3 days while the battle was coming. And when they came out of the cellar, there was bodies piled 6 feet tall of just death. Just
wow.
And they were like opening trenches and just pushing bodies into trenches. And there were soldiers buried with their guns still in their hand. They said they uncovered one, and the guy still had the rod in the gun. He was poking the bullet in his gun.
Wow.
3 days later, they said they were getting hands coming out of the ground because people were still alive. I mean, if you were just passed out, they didn't know.
Yeah.
They walked up and poked you. If you didn't do nothing, they thought you were dead. And people were trying to carry. Maddie had an experience. Now, Maddie's like an empath, and she had Estes on, and her experience was like she was in the middle of
It was like I've usually when I'm at Estes, I go more like a meditative mindset, and I don't really get anything. But it was like very strong there. It felt like I was standing in the middle of a battlefield and I was trying to like catch sentences. Like I've never had an Estes experience like that. It was like I physically was standing in a battlefield, and the psychic that was there with us, she was like, you got to watch out for that, because that's something that doesn't happen, but that could lead you to have psychologically like trauma if you're in a battle. And I was like, it was like everyone was fighting around me, and I was just sitting there trying to catch words and sentences. And
she talked to us like one of the soldiers at one point, like, I'm hiding, I'm running, don't shoot me, and stuff like that. And then he's like, oh, I feel pain, and and it was like that whole set, like it's like somebody walked up on him and shot him, and it was really the whole battlefield experience was crazy. I mean, we sat on the front porch and saw shadows running up the fence lines and behind cars and stuff, because just of the energy that's still on that battlefield of people. Because they said that normally at nighttime battles here, during the Civil War, at nighttime, the battles would stop. It was just like a code, like, we're not going to fight at night,
Okay.
And they would start in the morning. But they said that Battle of Franklin, they were just shooting cannons in the
middle of the night.
In the middle of the night, just that blindly, not knowing,
who they were hitting
or what. It was just crazy.
Oh wow!
That was our first experience. So now I want to go back to Gettysburg, because that was a huge battle. So I can't imagine. I hear people talk about how they see soldiers in the woods line and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I can't wait to see that. I would love to experiencing that smaller version going up there. So
one of our viewers.
They got mad at Maddie.
Sorry,
she got mad. A spirit got mad at her.
Really?
A lady that lived in the house.
Yeah.
Because I told Maddie to go in and get a REM pod
in a room,
and she went in the room without asking permission.
And
because I'm a young female, so I have to ask. Like back in the day, you have to ask older females if you can go into the room and be it was.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Our psychic was there.
I was
She was
sorry.
like, that lady is quite upset with the young lady up there. She's upset with Maddie.
I was like,
Maddie had to go
"Listen,
up and apologize to her.
One of our viewers has sent in, which are the most iconic US haunts?
Iconic?
iconic.
Waverly Hills would be iconic.
Waverly Hills.
West Virginia Penitentiary is a big one here in the United States too.
Mhm.
Oh, somebody's put that.
Have you been to have you been to Waverly Hills? One of our viewers has asked.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
And how was it? That's on my bucket list.
Yeah, it was at the time my son was with the company at the time, and that was on his bucket list was Waverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a lot of time kind of exploring the place because we wanted to see everything.
So big.
We got some activity, but we didn't go. It wasn't as crazy as like some people talked and stuff. But I would like to go back and investigate it in where we're not, looking like when you go for your first time, you want to see everything. Like you want to see the whole building, and it's a big building. It's really a cool building. And that's the thing is that you want to see everything. So you don't do a lot of investigating because you want to explore, but definitely would have to go back a second time for it.
Yeah.
One of our viewers has sent in, I recommend Eloise Asylum in Illinois.
Yeah.
Eloise?
Eloise is actually in Michigan, I thought.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. But that's on next year's list.
Eloise,
Is it?
yeah.
We're gonna have an event in Eloise. Next year we're doing all new stuff. Every place that we haven't been, we're gonna do events there, like Edinburgh Manor, Eloise, and West Virginia Penitentiary because we haven't done an event there and stuff.
Wow. Looks like we're spending the whole year in America next year, group.
I guess so. Come on. You guys can take my basement.
Julie Evans has sent in, where is the place you had the most best spirit outcome?
Ooh. Mine's been Indiana State. Like I said, I've seen 3 apparitions and a doppelganger.
Yeah.
Melbourne Manor in Iowa. It used to be an old asylum. Well, I wouldn't say asylum, but the mentally disabled were there.
They would basically, like the town or surrounding towns would basically bring these people in because they didn't want to deal with them anymore.
Yeah,
I think is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
You have people anywhere between real mental illness to they just have anxiety or depression. That was the range that they would bring these people to. So it wasn't named as an asylum or mental institution, but it was just a housing place for these housing for the mentally ill.
Yeah, it looks like a house, and it has that has the most, I guess, I would say the most freakiest event I have had towards me. They have a thing called the Shadow Man hallway, where it's at the end of the hallway. There's a big shadow that goes. So I was going down the hallway to place a REM pod, and as I got to the hallway and I was bending over, a little wiffle ball, white ball, come rolling past me, and I turned around like, "Aha, funny guys," because there was a bunch of people at the hallway. I was like, "Haha, you're funny," and they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Who rolled the ball? Someone rolled the ball. Who rolled it?" And they're like, "We don't know." And then when I looked, there was like 2 chairs standing in the hallway that I walked through, where they would have had to been perfectly to throw. And then once I realized it, I was like, "Oh wow, I just experienced something that," and I didn't even know it. I thought someone else had done it. I was like, the total whole thing went by, but I think the ball did roll past me. That because I remember walking past it, it was laying on the floor. So, and
one of our viewers just said, welcome. She's a good friend of ours that comes on Investigate. Gemma says hi to you too. Pleased to meet you. Ryan sent in, where's the most scariest place that you've been?
Where we do the podcast?
My scariest memory was at Missouri State, but I think the scary place I've been to is probably the place we do our podcast at.
It's been getting pretty
amped up
at the building that we do the podcast at.
Yes.
Yeah. I know Maddie.
We were doing the podcast and we were on a just like a podcast like this. We were on there. The podcast had ended and we were just sitting on the room and chit-chatting. And I look over to my left, and in the doorway, I see the owner of the building, Nicole, walk past the doorway. And I was like, Nicole, hello. I didn't know you were supposed to be here. She usually doesn't come. And I'm yelling out her name. He's yelling out her name. I text her and I'm like, hey, are you in the building? And she goes, no, am I supposed to be?
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, okay. So you're not in the building. And then a week later, we're on our podcast and I turn my head over and there's something standing in the doorway. And I just...
You can watch the podcast because she totally gets so like...
I'm like...
she loses her train of thought. Like, she's talking and all of a sudden she's like...
And
I'm
like, sorry. I'm like, you're gonna have to.
I'm like, what's going on?
You're gonna have to take over because I just lost my. I was like, I can't even think right now.
Oh, wow.
It scared me to the point where I was just like frozen. I was like, hello.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Did you see any features, or was it just like a black shadow that walked past the door, or?
So it had her she's very short and she has wider shoulders. And so I saw her hair because her hair is always tied up. I saw her black shirt. She was wearing black pants and she swings her arms when she walks. And I saw that, like, it was totally Nicole. Like I really thought it was her. Like I straight up was like, Nicole, hello.
Wow.
And it was not her.
Yeah. We've had some weird stuff going on ever since we moved the podcast in there. And we built the wall up because it was an open room, and we built the wall up to close off the room. There's been a lot of we've seen things in the corner of our podcast studio or room that's just kind of been hanging out in there and stuff. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's been getting quite amped up. Now the shadow, her Nicole's dad was doing some work in there, and he thought it was Nicole too. Mm-hmm. He called her name. So if it's mimicking her because she owns the building and she's in there a lot. Yeah. Then the shadow might be to mimic her and stuff. So
it's a little freaky.
Yeah.
Christine Wells. Good evening, Christine. Have you experienced any aggression from the spirits, i.e., demonic?
No.
We haven't nothing demonic. No. We've had angry or heavy spirits. We've interacted with those along the way. They tend always to go for me. The more aggressive ones, but then he comes up there and he's like, "You're not gonna mess with her," and then they die. But
the only angry one, like I said, no demonic.
No,
and I'm unfortunately I don't believe in demonic demons. I believe that there's bad energy and there's dark energy. If you're a butthead or an asshole, sorry, I don't know if you can cuss. Sorry, if you're in real life, you're probably going to be the same way when you pass away.
Sure.
So as you are in life, as you in death. So I never came faced with demonic, so I can't say I believe in the demonic. I've been to a lot of places that people have said, "Oh, there's demons here," and I've never seen it. I've never came across it. Never, So I can't see that. I've come encountered with some really negative because we have a friend of ours, Christopher, who's roommates with our psychic, and he's a bigger black guy, big broad shoulder, and we go into a lot of these places that he's not supposed to be in. Some of these spirits are like, "Whoa, why is that?" That man in my building because they weren't allowed to be in certain areas at times, and their thought is it's still their time. They don't know that things have changed in society. And we were at Dodge City in Dodge City, Kansas. We were doing a depot theater, which was the original train station. Wyatt Earp showed up in all because it's known for Wyatt Earp and stuff. And there was a lot. We had a young girl doing an Estes method, and it kept calling her name, and she kept repeating her name. See, look, Paul's got a ghost in his house.
You see that? Moved on its own.
But it was calling her name, and it said push her. And I got up and I was like, no, we're not going to do any pushing. And the couple of the psychics that were in the room were like, he's standing face to face with you. And I'm like, he can stay in there all he wants. I'm not going to let him do, And then Christopher came up, and Christopher faced me, and he was between them. And they said that the guy was livid, like screaming, like, why is he here? He's not to be here, and just aggravated that there was a black man in where he was at, and that wasn't not supposed to be. Same with the Lots house. When we were in the Lots house, he got, and speaking of apps, we weren't doing it, but we were doing the Phasma box, and kind of like the ITC, they have English words. They have, like you said, a word bank of English words. Christopher was speaking to a spirit in German.
Oh, wow.
Like German words were coming across, and he was understanding exactly what he was saying, and he was speaking German right back to him. And it was like, those are not supposed to be, what I'm saying? That kind of stuff is not supposed to be in those word banks and stuff like that. German, So that's another, I was just going to think about. But with Christopher, we like to take Christopher everywhere because he's not supposed to be in certain.
He really amps up the energy.
His great grandfather died at that battle in Franklin, where we were at in the
Oh, wow.
And he died in that battle. And so it was kind of a trigger object too, of him being there and stuff. But we like to bring him in all kinds of places. I'm like, come on, Christopher, we're going to this house. You're not supposed to be in here, but hey, we're gonna intimidate him.
Is he happy with that?
Oh yeah,
he is. He loves it.
He loves it. He loves it. He's like, I am going to be here. You're not going to tell me where I can't. So,
what's your take on when they say the more fear you show, the more powerful they become? When you're fighting a negative entity. What's your take on that, Dan or Mehdi?
Well, they're going to get all power with you.
I feel like it depends. Like if we go, so we were at West Virginia penitentiary, and me and these 3 other girls who are my age, were in our 20s, and we 3 go into the worst of the this is the part of the prison where they kept the worst of the worst. It was like you walk in there and you feel like you're caged in because of how much security precautions they had there. And us 3 walked in, and you could just feel eyes on you, and they were looking at us like we were prey. And so that type of energy, I feel like they do feed off of that, and they enjoy that part of it, like you being scared. I've encountered some people that I feel like older houses, when you've realized you feel scared, I feel like they kind of back off almost, and sometimes they're even more scared of you than you are of them.
Yeah.
So I feel like it just depends on the energy or where you're at. You don't get any of that.
I repel spirits.
You repel spirits.
I intimidate.
I enjoy it sometimes.
I intimidate spirits. I will go into a place, and it'll be like, people will be like, oh man, the basement's been crazy. We've been getting this. I'm like, you want to see something really cool? And they're like, yeah, sure. We'll go down there. Nothing. As soon as I get down there, nothing. It's like they're like, I don't know what it is. And I've asked our psychic, and she's like, you have 4 guardian angels that have so much lock on you that they don't even want to mess with. And you repel, you do. And she goes, I have to tell them to step back to let me have a chance to, and because with them there being by my side, nothing. I tell Maddie, I'm like, you got to ask questions. They're not answering. They're not going to give me nothing.
Yeah, you have to take Maddie everywhere you go. Then
I know, right? Yeah.
Except the prisons. The prisons, they don't care. They have no fear. Yeah, and with the part that she went to in West Virginia with the worst, it was after they abolished the death penalty, they had to keep the worst of the worst, and that's where they kept them at, that death row. But when she was talking about the security, not only were you in a cell, when you came out of your cell, they had fencing above your head, and you were like a caged rat. You could not go anywhere other than from your cell into the main room. The main room had their showers in it and everything, and they had fencing above you all throughout. Like you could hang from the fence, and it was like you were just a caged. That's how bad it was, and and stuff like that. It was really. We got some good evidence down there. Yeah, especially the guy that was
outside of the
cell. You should be scared. I'm like, I'm not scared. Should I?
I was scared.
She was scared.
You pick up on that, Maddie. Do you feel that energy when you're in there? Then do you feel that?
Yeah, it's I feel less when he's around because he has a very protective energy for me. So when we were previously in that, and this is just like for an example, like when we were in that solitary area, when I was with him, I didn't feel as scared. Like I felt a little scared, but it wasn't like I felt very protected, like no one was going to mess with me. But later on, when I went in with those two other girls that were my age, I felt so vulnerable. Like I was like looking over my shoulder constantly. I was on edge because it just felt like there was so like I was just so vulnerable that something could get me at any time because it was I pick up on a lot of like feeling like if spirits are sad, I feel that. Or if they're angry, I could feel that they're angry. And you know, it's
We've had two situations. Maddie's had two situations where she's had to leave.
Yeah.
Because she's felt the emotions of the spirit that we were dealing with. That like in the Missouri State, we were doing a human pendulum, and she felt the lady that we were talking to, her pain and her, you know, her sorrow.
She just started crying. She was in prison because her father committed arson, but he blamed her, and she was, and it was so funny because they had you ask the questions. And I was the one in the middle. So it was like father and daughter and father and daughter. Like it was, So I had to leave because I just started crying and I had when I cry, I get hiccups after I'm done, but I never got any hiccups when I was done crying. So I was like, that's weird. That's not me. I'm like, I get hiccups after I cry.
And I know, I could tell when she's scared. It's a funny thing. And people always like, well, how do you know Maddie's scared? Like we'll be standing here, and the next thing you know, Maddie will be like, she'll move my arm, and she'll just snuggle up right next to my arm, and she'll just get real close to me, and I'm like, all right, and I know, you know, that's the time. It's like, all right, either I'm on high alert to what's going on or what's going, what's happening, and I'm very protective. We have a lot, and I don't know about you guys and your followers and stuff, but 80% of my followers are females. And they range from the age of 30 to 60 as the females in the paranormal world. It's a more dominant female group, I believe, than it is males. You know, there's a lot more females that will go. The dads, you know, the husbands are like, God, just go on and go. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't, you know. So, and the big thing here we've been talking about lately, if you've seen some of the videos with like the Haunted Garage and some of the TikTok videos that we've been talking about, Maddie's generation has a total different outlook on the paranormal. They've been raised with the Sam and Kobe's, if you know who I'm talking about. They do a lot of urban exploring here in the United States. Then they got into the paranormal. They were actually breaking into places, doing urban exploring. And, you know, TikTok has taught people how to fake a lot of paranormal because they want the views, they want the gifts and stuff like that. So the new generation is not investigating like we do. We're basically the first generation of paranormal investigators that gotten big. Well, that next generation is not. They're not going to do like we do. They're all about the scares and oh my God and the screaming and stuff. So we get a lot more of the younger, like 13 and 14-year-olds that are coming up, and I love like investigating with them because we could teach them the right way than not on TikTok way. And that's what I say. And so I like to deal with the younger girls and stuff that, you know, they're learning. And I stand up I'm very protective of a lot of the women and stuff on our, like, if we're not getting a lot of stuff and there's a mean spirit or, you know, they're like push or, you know, I'm like, nope. We're not going to do that here. And so I'm very protective of a lot of the guests and stuff that come, that hang out, that investigate with us. We just had one 2 weekends ago. We were at McIntyre Villa. Maddie was in Estes, and the spirit was starting to get kind of, you know, throwing his weight around. And I was like, you're not doing it. And I got up and then went and stood next to Madison. I'm like, you can get to go through me. First of all, that's my daughter. Second of all, you know, as a female, I ain't going to have it, you know? And all of a sudden she got out.
I was like, well, at first I was like, I could feel something. Like when I was in Estes, I was like, okay, there's somebody, either if it's somebody in the group or if it is a spirit, somebody's standing a little too close to me and they need to back off a little bit. Like, I didn't know who it was. I just felt somebody standing a little too close to me. So I was like, whether that be spirit, someone in our group, can somebody, whoever's standing in front of me, just needs to back off, like back away.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I come out of Estes, I pull my blindfold up, and the whole group is standing in front of me. I'm going, you guys were all in the other room when I was starting. What happened? Everyone staring at me. I was like, hello?
Have I done something?
Yeah, I know, right?
I walked in the room, and then everybody followed me into the room and sat down, and so now we were all like right in front of her.
But do you find the energy's more with the women than the men, or the men are more disbelievers and the women believe more? Do you? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think the women. I think some spirits think they can get away with more with the women, because back to that whole, the like Christopher being black and being a certain thing. Women were the same way. They were treated that same way in certain ways. So when we go back to like 1889 McIntyre Villa, which was built in 1889, and they feel women had a different role, and they see those women, those spirits are still from that date and that era. They see women, dress a certain way. I mean, they don't dress that way anymore. Women dress totally different now, and I think they see, women asking questions. Women didn't ask questions back then.
No.
You're pretty much told what to do, and, and stuff. And I think they tend to be more aggressive with the women because they're like, whoa, you're not supposed to be like this,
Yeah.
And
going with that, that's why I think more women are believers, because they get targeted more with these stronger energies or spirits. And that way men are like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I cannot tell you how many times that I had interaction and my dad or my brother would be like, I didn't get that. I'm like, no, because they're not going to sit here and mess with you. So I feel like in the paranormal, men are typically more on the non-believer side.
Yeah,
I can make you a believer.
Yeah,
that's my goal. I ask everybody at the beginning of the event, who's a skeptic, and they raise their hand. I'm like, by the time you leave, I'm going to make you a non-skeptic. And that's my goal on events.
It is, isn't it? When we do an investigation, we're very skeptical going in, because people do a haunted location. You can go around and say this house is haunted, this building's haunted, but you want the building to prove to you that it's haunted, don't you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. We're always first to debunk.
Yeah.
Like, if something happens, we're debunking it. Like, I haven't looked through the footage yet, but I was B-rolling Saturday at this place that we went to, this new place, and there were two. It's really weird that there are two isolation rooms that have like prison bars on the windows, and where they would lock people in, I guess, if you were being, abruptly or whatever. And the one door I have the camera and I'm opening, and it looks like the light turns on and turns off. That's how big of the light differential went, and there was no light bulb in that room. And I'm like, and then the lady behind me said, "Did you see that?" And I said, "What?" She goes, "Did you see that shadow?" And I'm like, and I'm opening the door with my camera to see if the light caught it. And I'm like, first thing I'm doing is debunking. Everybody's like, "There's a shadow," and I'm like, when you're going to try to debunk things, And I've seen the light differential, like it got bright and dark, it got, and it was like, but that would make sense that there was a shadow that shot across. It would turn the light differential, into it. So I haven't looked at the footage yet.
I like the best thing is we're at Indiana State Sanitarium again, and we sat in this hallway for an hour trying to debunk these lights that we kept seeing down at the end of the hallway. And we're like, okay, what is it? We kept and then we kept seeing like somebody, there was one of our guests who was down at the end of the hallway, and his girlfriend was standing at the opposite end with us, and she's like, "Where is my boyfriend at?" I'm like, "Oh, he's down there by himself." I go, "Oh wait, never mind, he's not anymore," because we saw a shadow walk in the hallway with him. And he's like, "I'm alone. I don't know what you guys are talking about." And
there
I'm
was like 4 of us all.
"No, you're not. There was somebody that just walked down there with you." So for an hour, we were sitting there trying to two people going down the hallway, one person come,
Yeah.
there was a shadow that it just randomly caught it, or it. So we're always the debunk, I feel like. But then when we can't debunk it, we're like, all right, that's paranormal.
So we're not alone.
Yeah.
What's your take on EVPs? Electronic voice phenomena. Voice recordings. What's your take on that?
I love them.
I love them.
I mean, I don't know what you can. We've had two good experiences with EVPs.
Mm-hmm.
Madison had one at the prison,
Mm-hmm.
and then me and the group that we had, there was 4 of us. We had an EVP at the at Glore Psychiatric Museum in a tunnel, and one of the guys that were with us heard it, but 3 of us didn't hear it. So we were coming out of a tunnel, and the guy that was filming came out, then I came out, Madison came out, and our buddy Doug came out, and he was like, "Did you hear the little girl say 7?" And we're like, "No." He's like, "Yeah,
Wow.
the little girl said 7."
All right, Doug.
We're like, "Yeah, okay, whatever, buddy. You heard something." So me and my son were. Sorry, somebody's walking up to my house. Oh man! So as we were watching the video back, my son comes out of the tunnel. I come out, and you hear someone say 7. You hear a little girl say 7, and it's on our TikTok page. If you ever watch that video clip, it's up there.
YouTube. It's on our YouTube.
Oh, it's on YouTube.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's on
It's on your YouTube. Yeah.
And it's weird that we didn't hear it at that time, but the video camera picked it up, but we didn't hear it.
I did the video. You hear us go, what?
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Doug's like,
when?
"Did you hear the 7?" I'm like, and the only thing that we could think of why that word 7 is that, you heard that, like, that number has come up a lot in the paranormal world. 7 is like, everybody thinks, 13 or 666. 7 is thrown a lot. We get that number 7 a lot. But
we've had that before.
Yeah, that tunnel led to the children's ward, and it had a bunch of school desks and books on that side of that tunnel. And my son has a 7 tattooed on his neck. So we thought maybe like a little spirit was sitting there, and she was like, 7, like a tattoo on his neck.
Yeah.
But that's an EVP that we caught. And then
when we were at Missouri State Penitentiary, and we went down to the gas chamber, and this was like the first ever time that I was truly like ever investigating. And I told my dad, everyone had walked up to the hill. Now in Missouri State Penitentiary, it's a walk, it's a hike to go back up to the main prison from the gas chamber. And everyone walked up, and I looked at my dad and said, "I'm going to sit in the chair. I'm going to turn on the EVP recorder." I said, "You're going to close the door, and you're going to go out the building." I was brave back then. I'm not like brave like that now. And I'm sitting there, and I'm doing an EVP, and I don't hear anything. So I'm like, I'm asking questions. I'm waiting a little bit, asking another question. And I come out, and we go into the waiting room, and we're playing the EVP back. And I go, "Are you sad?" And maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds go by, and you hear this woman cry in the background.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going, "Did you just hear that?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, wait, play it back. And he's like, "Oh, that was," he was like, I was like, there was nothing that whole time.
And if you listen to the EVP, it sounds, at the beginning of it, it sounds like
they're shuffling.
They're putting somebody in the gas chamber. Like you can hear the feet shuffling and getting in there and stuff. And there was nobody in that building with her but her. I was outside the building. But that lady cried. She's like, "Whoa." I was like, that's the best EVP other than the 7 one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to say they believe.
I like EVPs.
Yeah, EVPs are good, yes.
Yeah, I tend to do a lot of EVPs. I did one Saturday at the theatre, and we asked a question. What was the question, Jen? It was something like,
was it when we were doing that mirror scrying?
No, we'd asked the question. It was something like, who are you? And then a few seconds later, it said, "I'm here," literally as loud as that. And we thought, okay. So we said, then I wound it back like after a minute, had listened. Said, "Okay, where are you?" In the theatre, and it said, "I'm on the stairs."
Yeah.
Literally, I do seem to get some good EVPs. And when you get responses like that, you think, that makes the night, doesn't it? Because you just know you can't debunk it.
You had a child running, didn't you, across the stage? So it sounded like on
Yeah.
your toys. Then he said,
It
"I'm
was
with
like,
my brother." He said,
I'm
"I'm with
with
your
my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
It
literally
went
was
shush,
like a
didn't it? It
child
went
running
shh.
across.
That's what you
Yeah.
heard. It went shush first, didn't it? Then you
Yeah,
had
that's right.
child's run across the stage. That's what you heard on this. And then
Yeah.
next minute he said, "I'm with my brother."
And we were just
That's
sort of,
him.
you can't debunk that, can you? Because
No.
just this.
How do you debunk a voice that no one heard
No,
at the
it's
beginning and
amazing.
now you have it on recorder? That's kind of hard to debunk.
Yeah. I take my recorder everywhere really, and I've always had some real good responses with it.
Now,
You know,
do
I
you
think,
guys go on? Sorry.
I think, you know, it's like a back to basics, isn't it? You know, I wonder sometimes we take all this equipment and Spirit doesn't know what it is or scared of it because it's flashing lights and bleeping noises and all sorts. If you go back to basics, I wonder whether they prefer it back to basics.
Just chit chat. You're just talking. They don't know really what all you want them to do is talk to you. You know, they don't. And that's funny you say that because our psychic lady, we were at a house and we were filming a live and we weren't getting a lot. We had like our Phasma box and stuff. And our psychic called me and she's like, they're standing around watching you. They don't know what you're doing because they don't know what electronic is. That's not their part of their time. They don't know what you want. I thought that was a shadow running behind her.
No, it's my husband going past.
I was like, for a second, I come out of the corner of my eye. I was like, hey, you got somebody.
Hate to break it to you, but there is something behind
I
you.
hate to bring it to you, but there's a shadow going back and forth.
I know.
Live paranormal, see?
Yeah, live paranormal. But you know, they don't know how to use a lot of that stuff, you know, and you really have to explain to them what you want them to do. Like we don't.
What's he called?
What was that?
What was that?
I don't know what that was.
That sounded like a voice.
It did. Did
it not?
Yeah.
My phone's all.
Yeah, mine's off too.
That sounded like a voice.
As well. Yeah, it
Oh,
did.
okay.
All right. Anyway,
this is our home. This is where
we just talked about the shadow, and now we got a voice.
Can't say off now.
Yeah, but we don't call flashlights. We call them torches because back in the day they called them a torch. You know, and it's like, so you have to like almost dumb down your stuff so that way they can understand. You know what? All I want you to do is stand by this. Don't you don't have to worry about it. If you stand by it, it's going to light up. You know, it's going to have bright lights. Because she was like, you need to explain to them because they don't know what electronics are. They have no idea what any of that stuff.
You're like, can you talk into the Phasma box? Or like, what is that Phasma box?
I just talk to me. But with the EVP, the simple thing, just have a conversation with me.
Yep.
You know, your voice is going to pick up on the thing.
Another one, the question just coming from Christine Wells. Have you any spirits ever attached themselves to you after an investigation?
I'm looking around for
the
puppy.
It's a spirit dog. He knows where the spirits are, didn't you, Gil?
Ours is pinned up right now. She's a little crazy. She's a puppy. I got 100% purebred German Shepherd.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to train her to be a paranormal dog. I want to take her on.
No, we have not. Knock on wood, wherever the wood is at. We have not.
We have a cleansing spray that we sell at our conventions and stuff. It's called Booby Gone. I know it's funny. But it's holy water, sage, Palo Santo oil, frankincense, and lemon. So after every investigation, we kind of stand there with our arms open. We spray ourselves, and we just tell spirits, "Thank you for letting us in your house. We enjoyed our evening. Thanks for talking with us and interacting. But you have to stay here. You can't go home."
It's worked so far.
Yeah, and so far it's been pretty good. So
it's like when we spoke on your podcast about the dialect, how the English dialects change. If you're talking to if you're in a 14th, 15th century house, wherever it may be, how much our English dialects change. Do you find that? Have you thought of that in an American type dialect? How you avoid the changes?
We had. I thought I turned that down. The only thing that we really had is like we never had the change of the English other than the
No.
foreign languages that come through.
Yeah, we get a lot of like, which makes sense. We get a lot of German, where we're going at. I feel like that's the most prominent one that we've been getting lately.
And we get Spanish a lot too.
Yes.
We get
Okay.
like Spanish words that come through a lot and stuff, but not really much of the whole English dialect. Nothing changed with that.
Yeah.
That we haven't come across. I mean,
Sure.
prisons are all slang, and
We get a lot of slang with prisons.
Okay.
That's probably the only thing that we've like noticed a difference between besides the native languages.
Not saying that we haven't. I'm not very keen on what the old is. So we might have gotten some, but I just didn't know that. I don't know what that word is. It just
sure. And we wonder that in English when the old dialect they would have used in the 14th, 15th, 16th century is completely different to the dialect we use now. Sometimes you get words through and you think, well, that's a load of rubbish. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And it may mean something to them, but not us.
Yeah. And the one night we did on the Spirit Talker, we were getting some weird like words, and we had a lady looking them up, and the words that we did had meaning to them. You know what I'm saying? But they were words that we heard on a normal day basis.
Yeah.
So, and that was kind of weird with the whole Spirit Talker too. Was like, why would it be throwing words that have? And she was typing them in and looking them up to see what the meaning of those words were, and they all had meaning. So, like you said, to me it would have been gibberish. I wouldn't have known what that word was.
Sure.
It's like Christopher. We thought it was a rubbish. Like we're just like, I don't know what they're saying. He's like, that's German. Like I was like, I would have never noticed.
Yeah. And then he answered the question, and they were having a communication back and forth.
German. I was like,
that's impressive.
Yeah.
To me, that makes it seem like I thought I turned that down. I don't know why it's going on.
His duck.
That's my text message.
I don't know what that voice earlier was.
It sounded like Alexa.
We've had it before.
Yeah.
We've had it before, though, here, haven't we? Interruption on the line before.
When we've been doing a live before, we've had a woman come in and talk halfway through the live.
Yeah.
And we're all,
Hey, you're bringing the spirits there.
Don't blame us.
We've had a piano note.
We've had a piano note on our podcast,
That we heard a piano note, and all the guests heard it too. They were like, "Did y'all hear that?"
Yeah.
Well, when we were doing it, she came through and it was like, "Hello," and we're like, "Somebody's still got their mic open," and you could hear like her saying something very in the background, but we just couldn't quite pick it up. It was really, really interesting. NSPS TV said, "Good evening, everyone from Central Texas."
Hey, NSPS TV, what's going on? We were on his podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pop on here sometimes, and we have quite a good chat with them. Interesting group. Yeah.
We were on his podcast. That was the podcast that we were on for like almost 3 hours.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there. I was down at the mansion. I was by myself. Yeah, I was at the mansion by myself.
Good luck. I would have done that.
It won't be 3 hours on this one, I can assure you.
He was taping. It wasn't live. He was taping. So
yeah.
All right. So what's on your bucket list? Sorry, Paula. What was your question?
No, I was going to say, where they do the podcast all the time, do you know the history of the place at all?
Yes. So it was built in the late 1800s. It was a saloon and brothel. It was called, and now it was called after the brothel and stuff. Two brothers had bought it and changed it into a restaurant. It was called the Sheridan Restaurant. They had it from, I think, the early 1920s to like 1970s. It's been a restaurant. It was one of the first places in St. Louis that sold food out the back of the restaurant. So they had like a rib and barbecue place in the back of the restaurant. So they sold like kind of like a food truck type thing.
Okay.
So it was known for its barbecue. In 1976, Joe Tangari, which was a big wrestler in the United States, in Missouri, he bought the building from the two guys. And then he was running the restaurant, still keeping the barbecue and stuff. And then Joe Tangari was involved with the mob. So then the mob got involved into the building. At times they would eat upstairs on the second floor Everybody wasn't allowed to go up there. That's where they would go up. You would see as a child, I used to eat there. We went there a couple of times when I was a child to have dinner, and you always see people go up the steps, but never you never question what it was. And the mob would eat upstairs. They had backroom gambling. I come to find out a friend of mine, or not a friend, but where I work at a bar, the gentleman, it's like, oh, my dad used to go there, and they used to have bare knuckle fights in the back room and stuff back with the mob stuff. But there's bullet holes in the stairwell. Still got the bullet hole in the stairwell. There's a burnt out body in the back room on the floor. When she was opening it up, the police officer, retired police officer, came by and is like, oh, I used to get calls from here all the time that people were falling down the stairs. And she's like, yeah, that back stairs it's pretty narrow. I could see why. And he's like, no, they were falling down the stairs. And I was like, oh.
The policemen would come and they would get bribed with beer.
Yeah, they could drink for free there.
Yep.
If they did. And so then it turned into a Cajun place after they sold the restaurant. They closed it for a little bit and they sold it. It came into the cage and then it just closed down. The neighborhood's gotten bad. It's in South St. Louis, and that area, the part of the neighborhood, is not the greatest. So it just turned down, and it was just an old building. Gentleman had bought the building and was going to make it into like for all of his like car collection. So he like reinforced the main floor. She's got a beautiful main floor because he had to reinforce it.
It's sturdy.
And for holding cars. And and then he didn't want to do it like that. And then she bought the building, and it's got its little. We do know that it has a what would you call her now? I guess the saloon girl or prostitute, or
she's a brothel worker.
She's a brothel worker.
Right.
Her name is Ginger.
Yeah.
She's red hair. She wears a green bustier. Our psychic has seen her. Other psychics have seen her in it, so we've had verification of that. She likes to open the door to the bathroom when the men are using the bathroom.
Okay.
Numerous times, the door will just come open. I'll be like, "What do you want, Ginger?" I'm like, "I know it's you." Maddie's singing back.
I heard her singing back.
She sings. She'll sing back there. Yeah. And
I was going to the bathroom, and they were in the main ballroom, and I thought maybe they had turned on some music to play for the spirits, because sometimes we'll do that. And I heard some woman singing, and then I came out of the bathroom. I was like, "Did you guys play music?" And they're like, "No." I'm like, "I just heard a woman singing back there, like you guys had turned music on." And nope, it was her there singing. So
and then the basement used to be a butcher shop. Down in the basement was a butcher place down there. Now the basement's a little bit darker than it is upstairs. We think some not so good things happened in the basement.
You can imagine, can't you?
I mean, had a lady talk to us that said that she got hurt there because her husband owed money.
She was used for leverage.
Yeah, she used her for leverage. And just recently, Nicole said the basement flooded because we had a lot of we had some bad rain. Like it rained for like a whole week straight here, and things were flooding. Everybody's basements were flooding
in St. Louis,
and down in St. Louis. And she said the basement had like 2 inches of water in this one area, and after the water drain, there was a piece of a bone laying down there. So we don't know.
She's like, I don't have the money for someone to come inspect it, so
yeah, we're not gonna say nothing right now to the police. We're not gonna take it to the police.
No.
I don't need
I can
imagine. My building
and tear up the floor. Yeah,
but I think there's some things in that building that's probably in the walls.
Yeah,
that are ridiculous because that part of that basement is dirt. It's not concrete.
Yeah.
So I can no telling what's been buried back there and stuff. So that building's pretty cool. That's our headquarters.
Do you have a lot of interaction with if you're doing a paranormal investigation in a town or asylum, the local residents come and talk to you? Do you have a lot of interaction like that from the residents?
Not really.
Well, when we go out in public, so like me, I wear like my normal clothes, go in public. He wears his haunted soul stuff in public.
Okay.
there's tons of people.
No, when we go to a town to do an investigation,
yeah,
usually if it's our group, we all have our Haunted Souls Paranormal
because we're
shirts
stopping
on,
by
and we're
store
at Walmart
before.
or something getting snacks, and people are like, "Oh, are you a TV show? Are you doing a ghost hunt here?" And we'll be like, "Yeah, we're in town doing a ghost hunt." And they're like, "Where at?" And we'll be like, "Oh, Whisper Estates." And they're like, "Where's that at?" I'm like, "Wait a minute, you live in town and don't even know
5
you
minutes
got a haunted building in your
that
town?"
way.
I'm like, "Yeah, sometimes people come up to us and be like,
"Oh, you're going to this place.
oh, you're going to so and so,"
And we're
and
like,
we're like,
"Yeah."
"Yeah." They're like, "Oh, we heard this about this, but nothing that's really that someone's come out and been like,
Wow.
So sometimes they know exactly what the paranormal's here for, or they have absolutely no idea that there's a haunted building right across the street from them. So it's crazy.
Quite strange. What's your favourite snacks you take with you? Similar question you asked me.
Yes, we are Lunchables, man. We take Lunchables. Yes, we were always talking about getting sponsored by Oscar Mayer or whoever does the Lunchables. We're like, hey, we do Lunchables all the time. Lunchables, mine's a Monster.
I like Red Bulls.
So
energy drink and Lunchables.
Yeah.
If you was to come to the UK, similar question you asked me, where would you like to go in the UK if you was to come here?
Oh.
What's on your bucket list?
Oh man.
Bucket list in the UK. I don't know much about haunted locations. I mean, I've watched a couple.
Yeah.
Is there a children's home in the UK? It was like a boarding place.
About the school at Hitchin.
There's one in a place called Hitchin. It's the old schoolhouse that's original from the 1930s. We have had a lot of workhouses here.
Yeah, I saw a couple. I saw a paranormal group in the UK, and they were on, and they were at an old. They said it was like a boarding house but it looked like it was pretty run down. Like like there was like holes and and a lot of debris and stuff in it. And they said it was an old. That looked pretty creepy and stuff like that. That would probably be cool. I mean, everybody always says castles and and things like that. My biggest thing across the river would be, I know it sounds, some people like, oh, that's kind of morbid. I would love to go investigate at Auschwitz.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like in the training camp, but like maybe a tree, go sit underneath a tree close to there and just turn the Phasma box on or EVPs and just sit and talk and just to feel what they felt, not to provoke them or anything like that. Just I think that would be really. I'm big into like to
tell their story.
Yeah, to tell their story and stuff like that.
That way somebody knows what happened to them.
Yeah.
But we have an investigator who's Polish on our team, and obviously her home is in Poland, and she went to a concentration camp just not far outside of her hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a museum, obviously, to what happened.
Yeah.
And she said as soon as she walked through the gate, she was just crying the whole way round. She could not stop crying. It was just the energy within, and it wasn't anything like Auschwitz. It was a smaller version of it, but it still had the chambers and bits and pieces. Which did the whole way round. All she could do was cry. She just could not stop crying. So the energy was just on another level. So
I can't imagine the residual energy that's been manifested with all that bad hatred and because it was hatred. All that energy was hatred. They hated those people. Yeah. You can't tell me, that people were like, oh, I had to do it. You hated those people to do what you had to do to them and how you treat them. So to me, that just brings a ton of bad energy in the.
And then you have that sad energy.
Yeah, and then you have the sadness and the hate. It's just. I can't imagine. Yeah.
Maybe I should probably not go because I wouldn't make it through an investigation.
Do what?
I wouldn't make it through an investigation. I'd be crying. I'd be the same way. I'd be crying the whole time.
Be another level. And Mark Ricketts has put, you should go and look at the Order Sur Gain in France. I think that's the tunnels with the skulls in it. Have you heard of that one?
Paris, isn't it? In Paris.
The Paris catacombs, that's it.
There's only one way in, one way out.
Correct. Yeah, it's on the street, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to go down a manhole and then.
No,
You do.
I'm claustrophobic.
My biggest fear is being trapped underground. Being trapped, like I see these guys climbing in caves on their bellies and stuff, and I'm like, oh no. I have to turn off.
I would.
Yeah,
but
Jenny's all right.
Yeah, in general, I would love to explore the world and investigate every place.
I was watching
places in the UK, places in France, and in Japan, and all that. I would just love to travel the world. And
I was watching a movie called Horizon. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a new one that came out with the Western about the United States and stuff. And these ladies, the Indians were coming. These ladies had built a tunnel under their house, and the mom and the daughter's underneath there. And it starts caving in a little bit. And I was just like, I had so anxiety. I started getting a panic attack. I was like, that's my worst fear. I'm like, I could never be a miner because I couldn't get in the mines. That would be.
I think I'd go in the catacombs and stay right there in the entrance and just investigate there.
Mark's just sent one in saying it's the village that the Nazis wiped out. The French walled it off, and now it's exactly the same. So that they walled it off, but it hasn't changed. So Mark's very knowledgeable. He comes on our live a lot, in investigations as well.
That'd be cool. I mean, I have a passport. I have a passport. I mean, we can.
I have a passport too.
I've always fancied Transylvania.
Yes. Drom's Castle.
Yeah.
We actually have a friend that's what is Monica? She's
Romanian.
She's Romanian, and she has to leave to go back to Romania for a year. So she says got some business, and she was supposed to be saying that she was looking to rent it around Halloween time. She was going to get in there and investigate it and stuff. I'm like, I'm so jealous.
I know.
You never know. You might get a flight out there, mate. You might get a flight out there.
But in the United States, what's your bucket list?
Mine's Queen Mary. Yes.
Okay.
Queen Mary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mine's Alcatraz.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be another level, wouldn't it, Alcatraz?
Yeah, if you got 30 grand.
Was that what they charge?
Everyone would have chipped in.
It's 20. I've checked it out. I already checked it out. It's $20,000 just to get in. That's what they charge everybody, like movies and stuff to film. So that's the same thing you get is the same thing. And then you have to charter your own boat, and you have to have a helicopter on standby.
Oh my God!
Oh wow!
So how much is it to get out then? Get out again.
That's one. Is that a one-way ticket?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And we had a lady on our podcast. It's up there if anybody wants to watch. She actually investigated Alcatraz, and her story and her episode is. I'm the whole time just like watching her, listening to her because that's my place. And that's the place that she actually went and got behind the scenes. She went to places that she wasn't supposed to. They sweet talked the security guy, and they got to go to other locations of the place that other people didn't. So her story is really cool.
We're coming near the end anyway. Do you want to just promote Haunted Souls on here so people can go on your YouTubes and that? It's brilliant. I've watched them all now.
It's Haunted Souls Paranormal. Soulz is SOUL with a Z at the end. You can go on our Facebook. We're trying to get our followers. I think we just hit 2,000 followers on our Facebook. We also have Haunted Souls Paranormal group page where you can go on and advertise, go on and be a friend, and you can advertise anything you want on that page. That's a page to promote and other companies, other groups, other paranormal events and podcasts. TikTok, we are Haunted Souls _paranormal. And then we have a backup page, which is Haunted Souls 2.0. You go in and like those. We're on YouTube, Haunted Souls, and that's where you'll see our podcast on Tuesday nights. You guys were probably sleeping at that time. I know Paul was on our thing, and he was up late at night. Thank you very much for coming on.
1 o'clock in the morning.
Different. It's like 3 o'clock here during the day here. I'm like, we didn't have to stay up so late for you. You can go on YouTube. We have at 7 o'clock at night. We do it live This week we actually have the historian from Randolph County Asylum. He's going to be coming on talking about the building because that's where we're going this weekend and stuff. But, all of our old episodes are on there. Go on and subscribe. We just hit 500 subscribers, so that was a big goal for us to go to. And if you want to see how scared Maddie can really be, go watch a TikTok video of her when she walked through Ashmore Estates by herself.
Yeah,
it's just her and a camera and a flashlight. Yeah, that's a great video to watch and stuff. But we have all of our events at hauntedsoulsparanormal.com if you're in the area in the United States, or if you want to coming over that way, come in to visit.
Yeah. We'll be over one day.
We will too.
I'm telling you right now, if we get this, if everything goes well with this big location, you guys are more welcome because you'll have a place to stay. They have bed and breakfast. They'll have B&Bs there too. Yeah.
As long as it's not in a haunted asylum, that's fine. We don't mind bed and breakfast in a normal place.
It's just across the valley from it. Yeah. So it's when you drive there, it's really weird. It's when you drive there, it's like woods, and then it opens up into a valley. And there's buildings on the right, and then there's buildings on the left. Yeah. And it's got all this land, and it's crazy. It's
and if everything goes well with the building, we'll also be going towards you guys too.
Yeah. If the building gets all good, we'll be flying over to you guys. And,
too right as well. You're more than welcome. We'll take you to a few haunted locations here in the UK. That's for sure.
We do tell your story all the time about the story you told us about the guy on the ladder and the Romans walking through.
Oh, yeah.
We tell that story all the time. We're like, we had this gentleman on, Paul, for our podcast. He talked about the ghosts is walking through. And it's quite well known here, that story, you know.
Yeah.
But it just remains for me to say we're so privileged to have you come on and give us your time.
I appreciate all the support you do for us too, Paul. Yes, and I see you clicking on everything all the time.
Yeah. So I do. I watch you very closely and watch your videos and your chats, and the guests you have on there are tremendous. So I suggest anybody watching this get on there and watch the guests. They're fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
We'll be live for you Saturday morning when you wake up Sunday morning.
Yes,
we might still be on live at Randolph.
I'll be watching for that. Yeah. So it just remains for me to say thank you so much, Dan and Maddie, for coming on and joining us.
Thank you, everybody, for having us.
Yes.
And thank you, everybody, for your questions and your comments coming in. We really appreciate you coming on and watching it with us, obviously. So it only remains for me to say thank you and have a very, very safe week, and it'll all be well. Thank you.